Okay, hope everyone's having a great Friday so far. I'd like to welcome each of you to the Man Group Summer Series of free webinars. My name is Mark Baston, and today's webinar is titled Communication Effectiveness, the last and arguably the most important step of the 7 steps to manager success. Sure glad you're with us today. In about 53 seconds, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dan Mann. But before I do, just a couple of housekeeping items. First, I want to make sure everyone can see the presentation properly before we get started. On your screen right now, you should see a black and white picture of switchboard operators. Let me know if you don't see this picture. Secondly, on your control panel, near the bottom, you should see the word chat. And if you'll click on this tab, it'll open a dialog box for you to submit questions or offer comments. Last but not least, just so we don't have any background noise, we have everyone muted during the presentation. So if you have any questions that you would like answered, please just type them in the chat portion of your control panel and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Again, we welcome you. Now I'd like to turn it over to the founder and owner of the Man Group, Dan Mann.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're calling from. We're excited to welcome you to the final episode, the cliffhanger episode, the series finale. Well, I can't think of any other great terms, but the last session in Retail Store Manager, Steps to Success. We're very excited, and I've sort of been really bragging about this upcoming topic for quite some time because we think this is the crucial issue for retail store managers. If you've missed any of the previous, let us give you some context of the other 6 steps, retail store management success. First of all, take a look at the setting the bar. Setting the bar is the first step to being a retail store manager in that you tell people what the expectations are, what the standards are for performance, and what you're expecting out of the result of their work for you. After you've set the bar, your job then is to evaluate activity against the standard. What are they doing? How do you look and observe at their behavior, and what would you rather see versus what you are seeing? Once you've identified that, we identify and remove obstacles. What is causing underperformance? What is it that causes people the obstacles to high performance in retail? Then we want to figure out how to get buy-in. How do you get everybody on the same team, pulling in the same direction, everybody completely bought into the overall goal? The next step we discussed was staff selection. Who should you hire? How do you find them? What's the ideal target candidate for a retail store? Once you've got them hired, next most important issue is motivation and discipline. You got them working for you. What do you want them to do? How do you want them to do it? And when they step outside the boundaries and framework of what you want, well then, what should you do as a result of that? That brings us back to today's topic, communication effectiveness. I want to start today with Harry Parker. Harry is was formerly the rowing coach for the very successful Harvard row team, or crew. He's just recently passed away this summer, but he was the coach at Harvard for 51 years. He had an 80% win rate in those 51 years, and is frequently referred to as the most meaningful coach of the latter half of the 20th century in any sport. He would be a model for very effective communication. In a day of iPhones, texts, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, Harry was known for his simple megaphone. The old school cardboard megaphone that he would use to shout instructions to his team as they rode, as they practiced, was his trademark. In fact, many of the people who participated on his team described that as they were rowing and he was in the boat alongside of them coaching and giving instruction, they had to really listen carefully to his soft-spoken, quiet instruction. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't threatening. He wasn't coming up with any magic formulas. He was given simple direction with the use of a simple megaphone. And it reminds me, and it reminds us, that of all the great ways to tell people what to do, to communicate information, to pass on your insights, There is nothing more effective than straightforward human-to-human contact. Don't ever think that an email, a text, a video, or anything online is ever going to replace you as a manager communicating verbally directly to another person exactly what you want. That I would call highly effective communication. Our role as manager in every single day in our work is to have impact, influence our people, and inspire excellent results. This is the three-step ideology for communication effectiveness. Are you impactful? Are you influencing change? Are you inspiring great results? The work of a store manager is the work of a coach. And if you're in this business now and you manage a retail operation, don't think of yourself as managing a bunch of processes or managing a bunch of material or a bunch of product. You are in the business of coaching. Pictured here is Jim Tressel, the former coach of Ohio State. He's just recently begun teaching a class at the University of Akron called The Principles of Coaching. And this is a class offered in business. And here's his quote: "We happen to believe one of the greatest needs in this country. We have 60 to 65 million young people playing sports. We have so many opportunities for coaching. We can build a foundation at a young age and have an impact. The impact we can have and need to have as coaches is tremendous. Your role as store manager is the role of a coach, having impact, directing behavior, building into people's lives, and improving them." So we are talking about communication effectiveness, not just telling people things, not just passing on information, but getting results. It is in being effective. And I would liken this to the simple example of throwing and catching. Throwing and catching requires two sets of skills. It is the person on the mound there throwing the ball. Is he throwing the ball far enough? Is he throwing the ball in the right direction? Is he throwing the ball at the right height? Is he throwing the ball at the right speed? On the other end of the experience is the person catching. Does the person catching know how to catch? Does the person catching have a glove? Does he have the right equipment? Does the person catching in the right position to catch the ball? And guess what? Does the person catching want to catch the ball? And when it comes to great communication, you must consider both sides of this equation. And in this metaphor, communication and a message is that ball. You can throw it. Is the person on the other end in a position to receive it? As you deliver the message, is the person on the opposite side from you ready to receive it, prepared to receive it? Do they want to receive it? Do they have the equipment to receive it? Do they have the capacity to receive it? And will they take it in and actually do something about it? Pitching and catching is a good metaphor for communication effectiveness. Now, I find lots of managers who like to go around telling people what to do and come back an hour later that nothing got done. Well, you threw it. It just didn't get caught. And so part of your job as manager and coach is to own and take responsibility for both sides of the delivery of the message. Deliver the message, make sure it's received. Too often, I find owners wandering through their stores, grabbing a manager and saying, "Why isn't this done? Why isn't this done?" And the manager puts her hands up and says, "Well, boss, I told them. They just didn't do it. I told them." And I tell you, I lay the blame there squarely on the shoulders of the manager, who must own both sides of communication effectiveness. So in that context, when you are communicating a message, when you are trying to give direction, when you are coaching, it's important that you achieve a series of agreements. Each agreement then builds upon the next agreement, which builds upon the next agreement. And to be effective, you must understand that each of these sets of agreements must be accomplished before you can actually achieve new results. So let's just take a quick look at some of the agreements that you have to achieve. You're talking to a person, and in this case, I'm going to use an example of just store maintenance. Let's say that we're asking the store to be swept or vacuumed. Okay, so that's just a simple example. The first agreement that you must get with the person you're talking with is this task worthwhile? Is this something worth doing? And then, you may walk up to an employee and say, I need to get the floor vacuumed. And the person you're talking with says, yeah, it sounds like you do need to get the floor vacuumed. Whatever. I mean, doesn't matter to me. I don't vacuum things in my house, so why should I vacuum? See, if you've got an employee that doesn't believe the job is worthwhile, you're not likely to get any action. But you must get agreement. It's worthwhile. A clean floor, a clean store is better for our customers, and therefore helps us make more money, and therefore helps us keep the lights on, and therefore has us getting a paycheck every other Friday. The next area of agreement we must get is this task worthwhile for me? Should I be doing it? And that's a big issue. Okay, I see it. Vacuuming's fine, but hey, I'm a salesperson. I shouldn't be vacuuming it. Give that job to someone who hasn't been here as long as I have. So we must get agreement that this task is worthwhile for me. The next agreement is, do I understand how to do it? Does the person I'm talking with, the sales associate I'm giving this task to, do they understand how to do it? Do they know the fundamentals, the basics, where the vacuum is, what I want vacuumed, what elements of the floor I want vacuumed, and how to actually operate that, or sweeping it, how to sweep it, where to sweep it, how to clean up the mess? Do I understand how to do it? And this is a big issue of agreement. I may agree that it's worthwhile, I just might not know how to do it. This may be in the example of a topic, maybe increasing your sales. Let's say your UPT rate is 2.1. The store average is 2.9. So we need to get you to have more units per transaction. And so we walk away as manager believing we've communicated, a new urgency for the sales associate. The sales associate may be going, I have no idea how to increase my UPTs. I don't know what a UPT is. And therefore, I don't know what the contributing factors are or what I need to do differently. So as we get agreements, the one agreement is, do you understand how to do what it is I'm asking you to do? Next, do you understand the expected specific result? What are we going to get? A clean floor. Well, my idea of a clean floor as manager might be different than the sales associate or the employee's understanding or expectation of a specific result. And so it's important that me and my employee that I'm talking with understand the specific result we're looking for. So in the case of the UPTs, you're at 2.1. I want you at 2.9. So starting today, over the next 4 weeks, I would like to see by October the 6th, I'd like to see that your average UPT over the previous 30 days would be at 2.9. And I understand now that's the specific result. And so that brings me then to my next expectation or next agreement. Do I understand the deadline? Hey, we want to get the floor vacuumed or the floor swept? Well, sure, I'll be happy to do it. Oh, by the way, I have 10 other things I'm doing today, so I'll get to that floor sometime tomorrow or maybe Sunday. Well, no, I need to understand, I want the deadline to be, I want this vacuumed by noon. I want that UPT rate of 2.9 to be achieved by October 6th. You and I will have a meeting at the end of your shift on October 6th to determine your current rate of performance, and that is what's going to be required. That's the expectation. And then the final agreement you must get from the sales associate. Will I do it? Will I do it? I understand that it's worthwhile. I understand it's important for me. I understand how to do it. I understand the results. I understand the deadline. Yes, I'll do it. If you miss any of these agreements, you're not likely to get what you want. Now, you may be frustrated as a manager, thinking, you mean I got to go through all of this to get things done? Well, it can get easier, but if you've never been behaving this way, yes, you must walk through this step by step to get agreements in order to get results, to be effective in communicating what it is that you want to get done. Your role as manager is to provide the environment for others to succeed. And that environment is clarity. That environment is expectation. That environment is the right tools. That environment is the right information. That environment is the right motivation for others to succeed. You create the environment for people to succeed, they will love you as a coach. they will love you as a manager. What we're talking about here is a causal environment versus an allow environment. You first saw that first word, you may have thought it was misspelled casual. No, it's causal, and it is the root word cause. It is a store environment in which you get what you want. It is an environment in which you create expectation and create an environment for people to do what is in the best interest of the company. And too many retail environments that I go into have an allow environment where the manager is afraid to ask for what he or she wants. The manager has pulled back from creating accountabilities and allows people to do pretty much what they want and hopes that the results will be successful. And that is not effective leadership. That is not effective management. That is not effective communication. A causal environment has a leader in place who knows exactly what he or she wants and causes it to happen through their people. That is a causal environment. And I will tell you, if you don't have a causal environment in your store, you are not hitting the high levels of effectiveness that it takes to be successful in this environment. Now, as we wrap up our series this time, we recognize something that we want to restate to you that we said at the very beginning of our series 7-8 weeks ago. The responsibility for retail excellence in a retail store environment falls directly on the shoulders of the store manager. It is the store manager's job, in fact, high calling in life, to create retail excellence. Now, these 7 weeks, these tips, these steps to success, they work. They will make a difference for you. What they will do is they will create a happy work environment. They'll be very satisfying to you. Your business will flourish, and you will find yourself not staying up at night worrying about every step along the way. You'll actually reduce your stress and find greater levels of time use and greater levels of satisfaction and better results. And that's the reason why we are offering Man University. We feel so passionately about the retail store manager as the key hub in the business of retail. If you're on this call and you're a store manager, high five. Good for you. It's great work. It's great calling, and it is the future, I feel, of commerce. And so we have a 3-day course to help retail managers be highly successful. A course on leadership and profitability. Great series of classes taught here in Asheville, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. And we would love to tell you more about that if you don't know any more about it. Now, we do have some time for questions today. We're going to throw this back over to Mark to facilitate that. If you have questions, feel free to type those into the chat box. We'd love to get your questions and spend some time chatting with you about them right now. Mark?
All right, Dan. We've got 3 questions so far. The first question.
Good, keep them coming.
How much does humor play into effective communication?
Well, I personally like it, and I think it's fun to have an upbeat environment. But I can only tell you that humor is going to work for you with 2 caveats. One, is it your natural style? Is it your way of being anyway? Because if it's forced or fake and you're trying to be upbeat and cute and funny when it's not your way, it's going to come across as inauthentic, and that's not good. Secondly, humor can work well for you as long as the message is not diminished. If the person hearing your message, in other words, you as a manager, if you beat around the bush and you try to be cute and you try to be funny, and the person who you're trying to communicate something to doesn't get the point, then humor has failed you. So I like to have a nice, fun environment, but I also believe for communication effectiveness, you must be straightforward. You need to make sure that you've got those agreements and that people are on board and agree with what you're offering. Otherwise, you're not effective.
All right. Question number 2. What if you cannot get an agreement on one of those issues you described earlier?
Well, you're not going to get the results you want. I mean, pretty straightforward. If you don't have agreement, I find that sales associates don't tend to do things they don't want to do. So if I can't get agreement on something being worthwhile, then I doubt I can build upon that. If I can't get the job I'm asking them to do, let's say the UPT topic of 2.9 UPTs, well, then um, they're not going to be focused on it or try to do it. They'll find avoiding behaviors, and you'll end up not getting what you want. So I think the foundational premise of management is getting agreements and then getting new activities. So if you can't get agreements, you're not going to change behavior. As a result, then you're going to be dissatisfied, and the end result of that's either you're going to let this person go, or you're going to end up doing their work for them. Neither of which I think are what we're looking for here.
Okay.
So crucial.
All right, and our third question, Dan, is how would you know there is an allowing environment?
Oh, there's a good question. Well, kind of sometimes it may be tough for you to evaluate your own environment, but listen, spend a couple of hours in your local mall. Walk the mall from store to store, and you will walk in and find a lot of allow environments. If you see poor customer interaction, you see a poor visual presentation or poor store maintenance, you see sales associates who are hanging out at the cash wrap, talking on the phone, texting, joking, not interacting with customers, you're walking into an allow environment. Allow environments when the manager's behavior is not being enacted. So in your case, the question for you is, you may need to take a long, hard look at your store environment and question, are people doing what you want them to do? Are there people working for you that you're reluctant to address, that you're cautious about challenging, that you don't coach? Are there people working for you that will not allow you to coach them? Well, then you may have an allow environment. The end result of this is probably going to come in a collaboration between you and your supervisor, the owner, or if you're the owner and also the manager, with any partner you have in the business, to say that, hey, we're allowing things to happen. We're hoping that we get new results, but I'm not really causing these new results. Effective management is about causing the behaviors and the results that you want.
Okay, well, Dan, thanks, and thanks everyone for those questions. Real quickly, if you have a question on this or any of the previous sessions, feel free to email us. I'm going to be emailing out a quick survey this afternoon, and if you want to, we'll also be sending you a link to the recording this afternoon. And if you want to see the other segments, feel free to jot down that YouTube URL, and you can see the rest of them. We're going to be introducing some new webinar series throughout the rest of 2013 and 2014. We'll keep you posted on that. But for now, we really appreciate your time, and hope everyone has a great Friday and a terrific weekend.
Mark, when's the reunion?
We're still working that out, Dan. I'll let you know, though.
Thanks, everybody.